This Sunday is the 19th Sunday in Ordinary Time, where we go back to Matthew chapter 14, verses 22 to 33. The story of Jesus calming the sea and challenging the disciples. In the meantime, the context of this comes after the Sunday. Last Sunday was the Feast of the Transfiguration, where Jesus took the disciples up this high mountain, and they get this insight into who Jesus is and says, "It's great to be here." So meanwhile, we're back in service mode and back in discipleship training this Sunday. And it begins that Jesus, after feeding the people, there's a time of service where he takes time for himself to go to a mountain to recharge and to pray and to strengthen himself. So kind of modeling for discipleship that it really, after a time of service, to take time by yourself to pray. Meanwhile, back at the lake, the disciples are there doing what they do best. They're fishermen at the beginning. They fish in boats at the Sea of Galilee. So they're there. They're back in their comfort zone, their home base. A storm and a wind blows up on the waves, and the disciples are concerned, but even more so, they see this figure coming towards them on the water. And they settle into that old familiar human behavior. They become afraid. Now, I think I would be afraid if I saw a being walking on the water towards me. But in the scriptures today, they say they become really scared. The word they say, they become terrified. And they cry out when they see Jesus walking on the water. And they say, "Oh my gosh, it's a ghost." You know, they cry out in fear. And Jesus encourages them and says, "Do not be afraid." And Peter kind of challenges that. Well, if you say who you are, invite me to come out there on the water. And Jesus says, "Come to me." And so Peter gets out and walks on the water, and he's walking towards Jesus, and he sort of takes his focus off because he notices the wind and the storm is so bad, and he starts to sink, and he says, "Save me," and Jesus saves him. And Jesus encourages him, "Do not be afraid. It is me. It is I. Remember, we were up on the mountain. It is I. Do not be afraid." And he encourages them, and then the wind dies down. Take courage. Remember, we were on that mountain. It is good to be there. It's also good to be here. Be strong. Take courage. Do not be afraid. This past weekend in my travels, I saw in a store, actually it was a quote by John Wayne that said, "Courage is being scared to death, but saddling up anyway." Jesus is calling the disciples, take courage, step out of your comfort zone and walk towards me in service because I'm right there reaching out with you. I'm right there with you. So Peter takes that courage and walks on the water and steps out of his comfort zone, but he sort of loses that focus and becomes afraid. So this week, I challenge us as we walk in service, let us pay attention to those moments where Jesus invites us to step out of our comfort zone. Steps out, says, "Come to me, walk with me. I'm right there with you. Stay focused. I'm right there with you. And do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. I am with you." In addition to that, at the very beginning of the gospel, Jesus reminds us, after those moments of service, take some time to go to the mountain to pray. That mountaintop or that mountain experience could be a place in your room or a place outside on your deck. Where is that place where you can go to spend a quiet moment with God, to recharge, to find that courage and strength to say, this week I'm going to step out even more in courage to love and serve God with other people. Amen.